Yeah, alright people, how are we doing? So are you currently looking to get into streaming? Whether it's for maybe TikTok, whether it's for Twitch, Facebook, any platform that accepts streaming. The software that today we're going to look at setting up is Streamlabs OBS. Now, Streamlabs OBS is quite a simple application to use in all honesty. There is many different softwares that you can use to stream on the market. The main common two are OBS Studio, which is you tend to find is used a bit more often because it's got a little bit more features to it, which I won't dwell on this video, but I will release a video in the very near future that'll explain the differences. However, today we are going to be looking at setting up Streamlabs. Now, Streamlabs is effectively a dumbed down version of what we mentioned earlier on OBS itself, and it is quite user friendly. It's designed that way. It's very simple. Everything's what in there that you're really going to need. There's not too much in there that's going to confuse you. Now, don't get me wrong, you may open the software for the first time and it'll be boggling to you, but don't worry, because the moment that as soon as you start using it for maybe 1 or 2 times of streaming, you'll look at the settings, you'll kind of get an idea, and eventually it'll just come to you. And once you've eventually learned how to use Streamlabs OBS, it may even open you up to the option of moving over to OBS Studio. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to set it all up. Just give you a quick brief. We're going to set it all up so you're going to get an overlay put on there. We're going to set it up so it works with maybe a Facebook account, for example, which is what I'm going to do. And basically what you're going to need in order to get set up to stream on whatever platform it is. Now, I'm not going to do it platform specific today. I'm literally just going to give you the basic rundowns of what you're going to need to use, or what you're going to need to do in order to get it to work. If you are going to be using it on a platform, you can either go live using Streamlabs OBS itself, which tends to be the most common, or you can do it manually. Now, we'll not get into that, but it does give you an option of different things you can do. There is pros and cons of either. So let's move over and let's have a look. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to open his browser, and then we're going to go and Google. Accept that. So Streamlabs. Ooh, did I ask for the type first? So Streamlabs first of all, and it is the top one. Alright, so you're going to get loaded with this very nice user-friendly website, which does look a bit large to be fair, and that's because I've got my browser 150%. Brilliant. So you're going to want to download this. Now, bear in mind, I don't have it downloaded. I don't think I do have it installed. So I have it installed, but all you're going to do effectively is you're just going to install it as any other program. And let's be honest, if you're on a computer, you pretty much know what you're doing in terms of doing a basic install of a program. Once you've installed it, we don't want to be opening the Stream Deck. That'd be a good start. You're then going to want to open the software itself. At the time that you're going to open this, you are going to be faced with it'll start loading, it'll start doing some installation for you. Just leave it to do its thing, and then eventually you'll be loaded up with this. Now, it will ask you to try and log in at the beginning. So it'll allow you to log in using a Facebook account, Twitch, whatever it is that you use. I think even Google is an option. If you're going to stream via Facebook, log in by Facebook. If you're going to stream by Twitch, log in by Twitch. If you don't want to log in, that's perfectly fine. However, if I'm being completely honest, I would log in, because it means that if you do, you will be able to use the built-in chatbot facility, the chat box itself. You'll also be able to use the alerts that they give you as well, so everything's done for you effectively, but you will then be placed with this screen. Now, what I tend to do is, before I start tangling with any of the overlays or any fancy graphics, because obviously this window at the minute is currently blank, I start with the settings. And what I mean by that is I click the cog in the bottom left hand corner here, and this is what you're faced with. Now, you've got to go through these settings, which is, you whatever your system is running at is dependent on what these settings are going to be. Now, personally, when I'm streaming, I stream in a different resolution, because I've got a very, very good PC in terms of what I need to use it for. Now, I am currently using a base canvas of 1080p effectively. This will depend on what your system can run. Now, if you are running on a normal size monitor, which you can double check, let me just close this down. You go to your desktop, right click, display settings, and just have a look what your main monitor is. So in my case, mine is 2560 by 1440. If you are running on, which is what tends to be more common, 1920 by 1080, that's normal, that's fine. So in that case, what you then going to do is go back to your settings on your video itself, which is here on the left hand side. That would be your base canvas resolution. This the output scale resolution is what you want to output to where you're streaming to. So for effectively, if you're going to be streaming to Facebook, you don't want to be streaming any more than 1080p. Majority of providers that you can stream on don't offer any more than 1080p at this time. I have heard that there is going to be future upgrades for Facebook going forward, that they are going to start allowing 2 and 4K, but of course that's not going to be here for the foreseeable future. Now, just for the purpose of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to what you guys would see. So this is effectively what I would set it as, because that is what your monitor resolution is. Now, FPS. Now, there's a big difference between the two. So 60 FPS, I would only really use it if you're going to be, say, going to be streaming FPS games, effectively. So fast-paced games. If you are a story game player, for example, where it's quite cinematic, they're quite nice to look at, and it's got brilliant graphics to it, I would honestly stream in 30 FPS if I'm honest. But if you're playing quite a fast-moving game that, such as Warzone at the moment, Call of Duty, Battlefield, that sort of game, I would run at 60 FPS if your system can handle that. And that is my honest opinion. Now, downscale, this is up for debate. Now, bicubic is what most would use. I don't, just because of the way my system's set up. Again, that is based on preferences. I am going to give you effectively the average but best settings for your system. So I'm going to go with bicubic on this occasion. So looking at this is exactly what I would go for a base. If you have a medium to high performing PC, these settings should be absolutely fine for you. Now, before we move on to the next step, you are going to want to test your internet connection. If you're aware as to what your internet speed is, that's perfectly fine. But if not, just go to Google and you can do a Google, so you do it an internet speed test. On this occasion, so I'm going to do an internet speed test at the moment. Oh, no, we'll do that again. Google speed test. Right, so run a test, and I'll explain the reasons for this in a moment. So while this is running through, what we're mainly looking for is, it's not the download you want, the download megabits per second that you're looking for, it's the upload. So the upload itself, so in my occasion, it's running at roughly 30 to 40 megabits per second. Now the reason I'm testing this, especially if you're a first time user of this software, it's for the video bitrate that you're going to be uploading your stream effectively to the website that you're going to be streaming from, the platform. So I'm running at 40 megabits per second, so I have absolutely no issues at all streaming what settings I'm looking to stream. And what I mean by that is, if we go to output, sorry, when you go here you'll see bitrate. So output, stream at the top. Majority of the time you will see this as simple. If you aren't doing much, I would put the output mode as simple. Now I run at 12,000 bitrate, and the reason for that is, as you've just seen, I run at 40 megabits per second. If you are going to be running in 720p, you don't need any more than 5,000 bitrate, if I'm honest with you. I used to run when I was running on 720p myself personally. I was running at 3,500. It was still able to run it at that. But the higher this number is, if it's not required, you're just going to put strain on it. Because if for example you're running it at 12,000 bitrate, or bits per second as they call it, and you have a really bad day, your internet's not great that day, for example, and your upload speed for that particular day that you're streaming it is only getting around 10, but your streaming software is trying to find 12 megabits per second, you are immediately going to cause issues for your stream. So you don't want to hit this too high, but you don't want it to get it too low, as to when it does actually get to the platform and people are viewing it, that it's not going to come across quite blurry and the quality is a bit shocking, and all those other reasons. So ideally, if I'm being completely honest, the average person for 1080p 60 FPS, I would run this at 9,000 if I'm honest with you. But again, I am not going to get into a debate as to what the best settings are for in terms of different PCs, because you might find this isn't great for you. In which case there is plenty of things on YouTube available. Not only that, there is also several things available on the internet. I will gather all this information link wise and I'll put them in the description of this video, just to kind of help you out the best I can. Of course, if you have got any specific questions that you want to ask, you can put them in the comments and I'll reply very, very quickly. I'm quite active on social media as a whole anyway, so it won't take me very long to get back to you. But we've got the basics set down now. Encoder is automatically, for me, is set as software X264. Now I wouldn't run it as this because that is relying on your processor. If you've got a very good processor, yeah, that's fine. That's completely up to you. It's completely preference to what you want to do. Personally, if you've got a decent graphics card, so in my case I'm running a 3080 Ti, I would be running it on NVENC New. And this will basically do the encoding via your graphics card. Now, if you're scared that this is going to cause issues for your game while you're playing and streaming using the graphics card encoding, don't worry, it doesn't. It really doesn't. If I change this, so I'm a Warzone streamer myself. If I am using this, the NVENC settings for while streaming, I normally get around 180 frames FPS on my game, or in other words, frames per second. If I put it to processor, I might gain about 10. So it's not a massive difference at all. It's not going to cause major issues for you. And to be honest with you, I've always found it to be a lot better quality when it is streamed from your graphics card, freeing up your processor from other tasks such as what else you're going to be running. Maybe using Spotify to play your music on stream. Maybe you've got YouTube running in the background. Maybe you have Facebook up or Twitch. Whatever it is you've got in the background, it frees your processor up for that. And that is my personal opinion on that. So none of these settings you don't need to worry about. So we'll ignore these for now. Now, if you are going to use, say, Streamlabs for recording, I weren't going to include this in this video because, of course, it is mainly just to get you basically set up on streaming. This effectively is where you're going to be storing your clips. So if you're deciding that you're going to record for YouTube, so in my case, I'm using OBS at the moment to record this video. I am not streaming, but I'm recording. Now, my recordings will save to this location on my computer, and this can change. So you can change it to wherever you want it to be. It's just where you've got the most space. If you've got a hard drive that's a decent size, I would highly recommend using that, because clips, especially when you want them at a decent quality, is gonna take some space. So that's initially what I would go through. Now, we could go into many different settings. However, again, this is the very basics of what you're going to need in order for Streamlabs to work. Now, let's go over to the Advanced tab on the left. So we'll go to Advanced. Now, Process Priority. Now, this is how high in the priority list that your system would consider Streamlabs. Now, I've currently got it set to normal. I would personally run it above normal or high, just so it prioritizes it, because otherwise you might have other things on your computer that are getting prioritized in what your processor and graphics card's going to run on top of that. So it could also knock your performance slightly as well. I've never come across it, but again, I've got a pretty decent running computer, so I've never had to worry about it. But if you are on the threshold in terms of your computer specs, then I would definitely look at choosing high or above normal, in all honesty. Now, your hotkeys, this is where you can hotkey anything. So just for example, you click in the box. So if I want to let's have a look what we got here. So scenes. So for example, if I want to switch to a specific scene, but I've got in a normal scenario, you're going to have starting, you're going to have intermission screen where you're going to be chatting to your community and who's currently chatting to you in your stream. Or you've got an ending screen, for example, you're going to want to hotkey that. Some people run with a Stream Deck, an Elgato Stream Deck, but again, that's a video for another day. But if you don't have a Stream Deck or any other way of switching, you can just set this to a hotkey. So let's just say, for example, that I want to press the number 1, and it's going to, if I press this button, it's then going to take me to that specific scene. So instead of me having to click around using OBS by switching scenes itself, constantly clicking, I can just press the number 1 and it'll switch to that specific scene. But we'll dwell back on that later on. Now, looking at the settings, it looks to me like we'll get everything set up as we should. Stream itself, this is where you would usually log in. Now, this, to me, as you can see, I'm a Facebook streamer. I am a partner on Facebook Gaming, so I will always use or be logged in for Facebook. I don't use Streamlabs personally to stream, so this is pretty much void in my case. However, if I'm being completely honest, and you're gonna be running 1080p, I would go back to this, click Stream to Custom Ingest, Custom Streaming Server, and if you are streaming on any platform, they will have on their Creator Studio, whatever it is for Twitch, Twitch Studio I believe it's called, or YouTube Studio in other cases, it will have two things, a link, so an URL, and a stream key. You put these in here. You don't have to use authentication. That's completely different unless it states otherwise. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. I've streamed on all 3 platforms, and at no point have I needed to worry about pressing use authentication, because that's when it starts asking for your username and password, which is quite in-depth at this point and is not required, so don't worry about that too much. Then once you've done that, you want to click done. Now, we are set up in terms of streaming, so all you have to do is press go live when you're ready. However, we don't have any overlays set up, so that's the biggest issue. Now, what we're going to do, let's just minimize Edge for a moment. Now, we need to set up our overlay. Now, this is quite simple. Let's just say you've already got an overlay that you've downloaded for free off the internet, or you've even paid somebody to design you an overlay, a really nice overlay. So first of all, let me just start here. So you're going to start off with your scene. So first of all, let's create a new scene. So we'll have this as starting. This will be your starting scene. And then we're going to, where is our starting scene? So once you're in your starting scene, you're then going to, you have no source, it's completely blank. So I've got now a graphic here, which you can see would be quite effective with my starting screen. All you need to do, drag it over. And there you go. Now, what I always do, if I'm being completely honest with you, when I am happy where things are, because, you know, I'm not going to be making it smaller or anything, it's going to completely be, you know, and it's where it is, it's not going to move, I'll lock that off. So it means that no matter what I do, whether I click inside the viewer window, it's not going to move. Because when I've been live in the past, from experience, it's been an absolute nightmare when I'm trying to move things around. But then instead of moving what I really want to move, I'm moving, say, my display capture, for example. And that's where things get a little bit of a nightmare. So if you lock it, it means it can't be touched effectively. And going forward, you won't have to worry about it. It's not hard to unlock it. You just click the symbol here, and then you can again move it around freely as you did before. Now, we've created a starting scene. So now we need, playing. So this is for when you would be effectively playing your game. Now, again, we're going to need a camera. In my case, this is completely irrelevant to you. You're going to have a camera frame with your overlay 9 times out of 10. If not, it doesn't matter. You can just go with your baseline camera. But first of all, you want to get your camera, position wherever the hell you want. It doesn't really matter. It's not the end of the world if it's not where you want it to be. Now, personally, I tend to like it here because it's quite central. It's central eye line for people that are watching your stream. Makes it more appealing for them to look at you most of the time, because again, when you're speaking to your community, you want to be talking to them, and they want to be looking at you while they're speaking to you. Especially if you had a question in the past and they're answering it at the time, you're going to want to look at them while they're answering it. So you know, you're not going to want it right in the middle, because let's be honest, that's where the game is. But it's up to you. I've seen streamers have it up here, down here, all 4 corners. I've even seen them have them up here or in the middle. It completely doesn't matter. I've always personally preferred streams, or my specific stream, to be roughly centre way up, in the middle, and to the right hand side. So that's that for now. So we've just got back to a starting screen. So effectively, we don't need anything else on here. Yet you could have music if you want to. And all you'd do to do that is you'd add a new source by clicking the plus symbol here. And you would just add a new media source, which would be, let me just find it around here. Just a media source. It's not there. Where is media source gone? So look, there we go, media source. So you'd have media source, and as it states here, it supports MP4s, MOV files, MP3s, which tends to be what your music files are. And you just click add source, name it what you want. So starting music, for example. So starting music, add source, and this is where then you would change it so that it will allow you to search what you want. So I'll go to music. Let me go to some of my stream music. There we go. And that's it. That's pretty much running. A lot of people don't use this method because, again, you can't really control the audio level of it as such unless you alter it here, which you can see it's bouncing to. Let me just move it over a little bit. So you can see it bouncing over here to the right hand side, which, yeah, you can turn it down, but let's be honest with you, you can't pause or stop it unless you physically mute it, which ain't great. So people tend to use Spotify, which is, again, it's quite easy. You just run it through your desktop audio. That's no problem. So if I, for example, will start to play music, it's going to play through my audio, which you can hear now on the Windows audio, and it's also coming through the desktop audio there. So it's not the end of the world. Now, again, there is multiple different ways of setting up the stream audio for you. You can start with maybe microphone, for example. I run my audio through a Go XLR, which predominantly is an audio mixer. So when I set it up, mine's completely different to the norm. However, if you have, like me, a pair of headphones and a microphone, but yours is a USB or an audio microphone with an audio jack, you would do it by going to audio and you can select what it would be. So in my case, I would be selecting here system, because again, that is what my Go XLR is. Microphone, I'm going to click my occasion. I'm not going to click chat mic because usually, but I've got to on this occasion just to test it. And as you can see, so you can hear my microphone going ahead. You can see my microphone going here. So let me just move it over out of the way of the camera. So you can see my microphone's bouncing when I'm speaking. But then if I was to play some audio, for example, there you go, going straight through the audio itself, you can see that bounce as well. So there's two different factors. So you've got your desktop audio, which your game would run through it. You chat with, in-game chat with people if you play, say, online on multiplayer games. And then, of course, then you got your microphone. So that's the audio side of things set up. And now back to the overlay. So let me just make this slightly bigger so it's a little bit more viewable when you're doing it. Right, so again, starting screen. Like we said earlier on, you're not going to need much. I only have one thing on my starting screen, and that is the overlay itself that says starting. Playing, you're going to have a number of things. So you're going to have your camera. So let's just say for this, in this case, I don't have a second camera, so I can't put my camera in there, because if I did, it would disable it while I'm recording this video. But it's quite easy to do. You click on the plus symbol and you go to video capture device. Click on there, click add source. I'd name this, for example, camera. Click add source and you'd select it. Now on my case, I can't, because again, it's currently being used by OBS while recording this video. But you'd select your camera, it then appear, and all you do is, I would personally put your camera source underneath your face cam, so that means that when you do drag it underneath and over to your face cam, it's not over the top. It's sort of layered, so it means that you don't have to worry about doing much with it. Now, when it comes to your camera, you'd resize it. So let me just do, let me just get an example up. What have I got on my desktop at the moment as an example? This is going to be quite random, but let's say this is our camera just for testing purposes. We're going to want to make it smaller. Now let's be honest, this is a gorgeous PC. This case is currently going to get released at the end of March, which again, the reason it's on my PC is because I am looking to be ordering this, and it is called an Haiti Y6 case, and it looks absolutely stunning, I must say. But back to the main topic. So let's just say for argument's sake that this is our camera. You want to drag it underneath your face cam, which is here. So the moment that I drag it, it's underneath. And then let's just say I want to position it, but make it smaller. And then I think, right, that's perfect size. That's where I want it to be. But the problem is it's overlapping. So the camera itself is overlapping the camera frame, which, let's be honest, it looks an absolute mess. You would, on your keyboard, hold the Alt key, go to the arrow that you want to drag. So each side, just drag it, and it'll crop it for you, as you can see. All you gotta do is do that for all four corners, depending on how big the camera is that you've got, and then done. Now what I'm going to do, just to help you out a little bit more, I'm going to group these together, and you can do this by clicking this little plus folder sign here. Click on that, for example, camera. So now they're grouped. So then all I have to do, instead of having to worry about, you know, wanting to move the camera, and then it's not even together, I can go back, just click the folder, and it'll move all for me. If I think, oh, the camera's a bit too small, I'll make it a bit bigger. Done. It all does it as one for you. So it's all grouped together, which means everything works in sync, which is brilliant. Once I'm happy with where I want it to be, so yeah, I'm happy with that, I'll lock it off, and then that's it. So now we've got the basics down. We've got a camera app, but we don't have a display. So game or screen. Now there's two ways of doing this. If you are well, there's two ways to do it in general. It's up to you really how you want to do it. So in my case, I use something called screen capture. So go to general, display capture even. It's called screen capture on OBS, so I do apologize. So display capture there. You want to click add source, and let's just say this is main display, for example. Name it what you like. That's just what I'm going to call it. Whoa, that's just sent it crazy. Here you would select the monitor. Now this is my main monitor because of course we're using it now. It does look a little bit weird, doesn't it? Oh, that's great. Look at that. So you want to resize it accordingly. Again, put it underneath your camera and resize it again. And effectively, that is, as daft as it sounds, that is what our game will display on. So if I move Streamlabs out of the way to another monitor, which is what I actually do when I'm streaming, we're back to this again. and then it looks normal again. So it's just a case of getting it right. And again, like we did on the camera, you want to lock it off when you're happy with it. Just delete that camera source because we don't need that. You want to lock it off, and that means it can't be moved. None of it can. But then again, you're playing a game out of nowhere, and you realise that your camera's actually in the way. So you just unlock it, drag it where you want, where you think it'd be a bit better, so you know your game's not been taken up. Move it to where you want it and lock it again. Done. Now the next step is you're going to need some alerts. Now today I'm not going to show you how to customize your alerts. That'll be on a separate video coming in a very short period of time, which when it is uploaded, I will tag it to this video for you all to see if you're also struggling with that. But again, click the plus symbol to add the new source. Now widgets is what I will go to. Alert box, add source. You don't need to change the name, it's up to you what you want to call it. And then here you go. And this is effectively the way you'd set it all up. Again, it is quite simple. You can try the new mode they've just the simplified mode they've just brought out. I must say it's actually quite good. And it is quite simple, as it states. It is a very simplified way of doing it. But again, you can test your alerts, and as you could hear, so we've got these are all the alerts that I've got set up, but it just gives you an idea. You can disable some if you want to. So I know when I'm streaming, I don't have donations because I don't really take donations. I don't have merchandise, so I don't need to do that. I have followers on Facebook, I have likes, I have shares, and people send stars. And I also have the support button, which means I would need to keep that done if I want to show my alerts off. So once I've done that, you click close, and again, you just move it to where you want it. If you're unsure as to where you want it, because you can't work out based on where the overlay is, you just can replay it, and there you go. And oh, that's a little bit too big, so I'll resize that a little bit. That's perfect, done. So that's that resized. Again, you want to lock that off. Now you kind of probably thinking there's a bit of a trend going on here. Everything runs through the new source button here, the plus symbol. Now you can do this at your own leisure, of course, and as to how you want to go about it. There's different things that Streamlabs offer that that OBS doesn't. OBS doesn't give you this sort of option. Yes, you can have the very general basics such as these. However, Streamlabs is a lot more versatile with the little features it can offer you, such as it lets you have star goals that it creates itself for you. You've got a tip ticker, a follower goal, chat box, stream boss, media share. There is many different options, and this is why Streamlabs is used, in my opinion, probably a little bit more than OBS Studio itself, because it's a lot simpler and it has a lot more features in terms of on the front end. But you can't do as much further down the line if you want to do some quite in-depth advanced streaming techniques. And again, we won't go into them, but it just gives you an idea. But this is a brilliant platform to use to start your streaming career off. If you haven't got a clue what you're doing really to start off with, I will always stay with Streamlabs. If you are quite experienced, you're quite a techie person, you learn quite quick and you pick it all up, and you find YouTube is your friend, Streamlabs might not be for you. I would personally just go straight to OBS Studio. Now, just to be clear, so we've covered how to actually set up a stream. We've done the settings, we've done the audio, we've done the graphics, we've set up an overlay for you. Now, your overlay is going to be a lot prettier than mine. We've done a starting screen. If you want to do an ending, it'd be exactly the same. So ending, find your clip that you want to use, so ending, and drag it in. Done. A lot of people will say, oh, I can't drag it in, it won't let me, it keeps showing me different symbols on my screen, which means I won't be able to drag it in. That's fine. Again, you just click on the add source button here, go down to image under general sources, add. In this case, I'm going to click add a new source instead, because again, we've already got quite several sources. Of ending background, for example. Add source, and this is where you would browse for it. So in my case, go to desktop. Where is it here? Excuse the tattoos. I'm currently having a sleeve done at the moment, so I'm having a little bit of inspiration. Where's it got? Here we go, overlay. So in this case, I would then go with that one. Double click it, done, and there you are. Yeah, it's different to the last one. Don't worry about that. It's just the way the overlay is set up, night and dark. But that's pretty much it. There's not much to it. If there's anything that you're unsure about, just ask me. That's absolutely not a problem. If you want to do it in the comments, that's no problem. You can either contact me via Facebook, via YouTube itself, by majority of social medias. All the links to these will be in the description of the video. If this helped you somewhat, please do me a massive favour, give the video a thumbs up, and of course, going forward, I will be uploading content just like this. I will ask you to bear with me if it's not perfect, if the content isn't great, or I've missed a few bits out, because this is a completely new area for me. However, all I ask, have a little bit of patience. If you've got any suggestions or you've got any criticism, please put it in the comments. I'd rather it be honest, because I'm not going to be improved without people being completely honest with me. Don't get me wrong, I don't script these videos. These are completely done off the cuff, because I feel I'm better when I'm doing them completely within my own way. But again, thank you for watching, and have a great one.